So let's start this semester's classes. So first of all, you're in NTUAI club, which is just NTUAI, and I'm the president. And so we're going to start off by introducing our schedule for this semester. So if you guys can quickly just scan this QR code, and I'm going to give like a brief run through of what our plans are for this semester. Last semester, we didn't have a full schedule at the very beginning of the semester, and so we decided to change that this semester. And because that was something that some feedback that we got from you guys, that's one of the most important things that we need to include at the very beginning. And we're glad that this event is sponsored by Microsoft, and we're going to be talking today, doing a brief club introduction. We're also going to do Microsoft Learn introduction and the LinkedIn Learning introduction, and then I'll kind of go through the basics of GitHub as well. And then after that, we'll do the basics of Azure. Actually, today I learned it's not Azure or Azure. It's Azure. That's the correct pronunciation for it. It's kind of an interesting way to pronounce it. Anyways. Yeah, and that's just our cloud platform. But yeah, I guess there are a lot of different ways of pronouncing it that are technically correct. Anyways, so yeah, you guys know that today is 7 to 9 o'clock, and it's me and Henry. Henry's Zhao Yunqiang, and he's the Gongguan Buza. And of course, we're at 102 today, and so there's the legend, so-called legend to the map. Hu Dongxing 老师 and Yao Siwei 老师. And these are the classes that we're going to be recording in for the 7th and 13th weeks. And next Monday, which is 4 days from now, we're going to be having a guest speaker from Facebook come in. His name is Wen Shaw, and he's going to be giving a topic, data-driven growth hacking. And we contacted him. I contacted him about a week and a half ago through Professor Liao. So this is actually a part of Professor Liao's class, and Professor Liao is our 指导教授, and it's just going to be in the same classroom. And yeah, everyone is welcome to come. It doesn't matter if you've registered or not yet. So basically, both of these events are on Monday, and Professor Liao said already said it's fine whether you're not 不管你有没有在修廖老师的课，你都可以来，就是旁听这个 Google 跟 Facebook 的这两个就是演讲。Okay, and so in 1 week, Hu Dongxing will come and teach so we're starting from Python ML1 and we're going to Python ML6. That's our Python ML series. We're doing everything from scikit-learn and validation and tuning, so different typical model issues to perceptrons and logistic regression, 逻辑回馈, and 神经网路 and support vector machines. I'm not sure how to say that in Chinese yet. Kernel methods, 应该是核心的方式，核心的函数还是什么 and ensemble learning, bagging versus boosting. I'm not even going to try translating that. And then I'm going to be talking. I'm going to give another talk, and it's probably going to be a topic, and that's going to be on April. And after that, actually, I was just contacted by a Swedish company, and they are called Decode Chinese, and they use an app that has that's AI powered for translating Chinese and English, and it has a lot more functionalities than, for example, Playco or Google Translate, because all they do is raw translation, and maybe Playco does a little bit more with in-depth translation, giving a bunch of different connotations of a word, and maybe giving some sentences. Well, this one does a lot more, and so we're looking forward to this talk with Decode Chinese. And then there's also Taida Tongchong Zhongxin, which is NTUAI, and they're a corporate accelerator. And so basically on this day, if you guys are interested in how businesses are currently using AI, this would be a great day to come. And if you guys notice, all of our classes this semester are going to be starting from 6 p.m. The ones with Hu Dongxing 老师 are going to be starting from 6 p.m. And the one for corporate AI is going to be from 6 p.m. as well. And that's because each company will have 1 hour of talking. And yeah, essentially then we also have TF2 Keras, deep learning, and jumping to the very kind of finale event. I'm really looking forward to this one, and I'm sure you guys are too. Is Sky 2021, and that's the Symposium for Quantum and Artificial Intelligence. It's one of, if not the first of its kind, of an academic conference that's for specifically quantum artificial intelligence, 量子人工智慧. And there are a lot of different possibilities for this right now. So I'm looking into borrowing either Yiling-san, which is right across this way in our Xiguan, and that's one potential location. Then we might also go to Zhongyan, and then we might also go to Dongwu Daxue. But most likely, it's going to be, it could be Boya as well, or it could even be Zhonghe Dajiang. So we'll still have to see about the location. But most likely it'll be on NTU. And we might, we've already contacted with Satoshi. He has a contact in Lan, Japan. We're already discussing this conference with IBM Taiwan, or excuse me, NTU IBMQ, and IBMQ is IBM Quantum. And I would take the part of discussing Microsoft Quantum, and my friend Tsai Pei-sung, he's an AI Pu de Buyuan, and he would talk about BERT. And then we'll also, this is very important, we'll also be having our Dahui. And so all of there might be 100 or 200 people that come to this event, because we're going to try working with a lot of professors here. Professor Martin, Professor Hu Zongxin, Professor El Sui, and we're going to be proposing this idea to them. And so it's still very much in 主户规划的这个阶段. But as long as we can get this more formulated, this could be our biggest event, our biggest club event in history so far, definitely. And then we're going to conclude the semester in June 10th. So notice we're not having any club meetings on the 22nd of April or on the 24th of June. But June 10th, we have our last meeting for this semester, TF2 and Keras Deep Learning 2. And then another thing you guys can consider, if you've received the school email, is there's a Shopee event, which is Shopee. And I think that, yeah, that's going to be at 6:30 next Tuesday. At the address, I'll put the rest of the details on the Facebook page, the Facebook Fanzan, as well as the Soyuan Fund, to make sure everyone knows about it. I think you have to register by the end of today in order to make sure that you're participating. And so that's basically the gist of our plan for this semester. Okay. And this is kind of just a little bit of history of AI Club. So we started out with this fun shaped logo, and we also have NTUAI. Just a couple fun different ideas. Those are our old logos, and we have our current logo. And again, we are sponsored by Microsoft Learn, which is a great program, MLSA, for university students. And so we're going to be talking a lot about different Microsoft products and the different contributions Microsoft has made to artificial intelligence. And if you notice, this is our fun logo that Shidong drew. It has A and it has Wen on the right. So it takes a little bit of play into 自然语言处理, NLP, natural language processing. And yeah, so I just added this QR code really quickly. If you guys haven't seen our Fantuan, then you can just scan this code really quickly. I'll give 10 seconds. All right, cool. So just a brief self-introduction. My name is Seth, and I'm the president of the club, and I'm fourth year in CSIU right now. And this is actually the last semester, so for me in AI Club. So we need to make sure that everyone comes to the 大会 on 5月29号, because then we're going to be having our elections then. So that's why we're probably putting it in NTU campus. So that's pretty important. And so we'll be deciding on our AI 部长, on our 行政部长, our 社长and 副社长, and 公关部长. So that's 5 positions, and our club is student run. So you guys get to choose. You guys we're going to hold elections, and you guys get to choose the future of this club. And so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to working with the future ganbu as well, and maybe we could, the current ganbu could continue, or you guys, if you're interested, you could also join in. And in the future, if the future president and future ganbu gives a 机会, then I would love to, do maybe a couple talks here and there, and that would be really fun. And yeah, so most of the time I'm studying at ABC Labs on the 5th floor, and I'm Wangguan there. And that's Professor Liao's lab in Wuling 2. And I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's a lot of fun. We have a diverse lab. We study everything from AI, which includes computer vision and natural language processing, to blockchain and fintech, and even compiler, Bianiqi. And again, as I said, Professor Liao has the blockchain course right now, and that's where we're going to have Google and Facebook to give a talk next week on Monday from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and from 6:30 to 9:20. 6:25 to 9:25 to be precise, and the Monday after that as well. So yeah. And my personal research background is in blockchain, in medical data analysis. So I worked with Professor Hu Wentong in 应用力学馆, and he has a machine that analyzes exosomes. And exosomes are a type of structure in the blood. And what is being found out by recent medical technology is that you can actually perform analysis on these exosomes in order to do early diagnosis of certain diseases. And that's what they're working on currently. And they have their NTU-based medical startup on that. And so I've done a little bit of research on that, and it's been a lot of fun. And in my free time, I like to study a lot about astronomy. An astronomy nerd, definitely. In fact, I was reading a book last night, specifically on black holes. It's a lot of fun. Chinese hito. Anyways, AI news and literature, so stuff like MIT Technology Review. I have recommended this last semester. If there's one source for AI news that I'd recommend to you guys, it would definitely be MIT Technology Review. It's got great content on it. And in fact, it just so happens that this is most of the content on MIT Technology Review is much, if not most of it, is actually AI related. Despite they'll talk about a lot of other stuff, and it's all cool. But I pay attention mostly to the AI articles, of course. I'm also interested in the growing field of AI ethics and safety. And yesterday at Dongwu Daxue, I had the chance to give a speech on essentially superintelligence. Some of you guys might have seen the article that we posted on superintelligence last year, a little bit more than a year ago. And you guys can check out our Medium account. We have a club Medium account. And so we posted that a little bit more than a year ago, and I've been doing some more research on superintelligence recently. And I might, if I find the time, I'll give some talks, maybe about 30 minutes of talk this semester on superintelligence. And then in Hong Sehao's lab, I worked a little bit on AI hardware. So stuff like GPUs and NVIDIA, what NVIDIA is developing the best in the world in terms of their AI computing capabilities. I would say out of all of the topics that I'm interested in, I would say superintelligence is definitely up there, and natural language processing is definitely up there as well. Natural language processing is where you can use that to create chatbots. You can use it to have it interact with your customers. So, for example, you could have you could have like an auto email sender, so the do not reply daemon, or in fact you could have the customers reply and have the bot reply to them, and that is definitely more and more common. You can have things like sentiment analysis, which Yunxiang was working on before in high school, and right now I'm working on a paper for reinforcement learning. It's called it's not hyperparameter hacks, it's hyperparameter tricks, and we posted this on ArcSeg. Yeah, and well, previously it was called hyperparameter hacks, and then it was called hyperparameter tricks, and then we decided to rename it to our IIT. So rethinking the importance of implementation tricks in multi-agent reinforcement learning. I will say that reinforcement learning, out of every single topic that I've ever touched in AI, reinforcement learning is the hardest. And I would definitely not start out with that because I don't understand most of that paper, which apparently, because Hu Jian is a freaking genius, and he's super good at math, he's super good at coding, and I do not understand most of his paper, to be fair. But I'm one of the co-second authors because I was able to, give him some ideas and edit the English. But this stuff is so difficult. MADRL, multi-agent deep reinforcement learning. Man, this is the hardest AI thing I've seen in my life. But yeah, it's still a lot of fun. But a lot about AI is you might not understand the whole thing, like the mathematical backgrounds to it, and you don't have to. You don't have to understand all of what you're coding because it's easy enough, it's modularized enough, it's simplified enough that you can use TensorFlow or Keras or scikit-learn, and you don't have to fully understand the background. You can write some 20 lines of code and get your model working and get 90% accuracy or 95% accuracy without understanding the underlying structures. And there's no one in the world, quite frankly, that understands absolutely everything about all AI programs. That's impossible to do because there's so many layers to it. Everything from compiler optimizations and hardware optimizations to that you'd have to know so much about it, and so there's so many different things that you can work on. Some people will say, "Oh, I don't like learning about I don't like learning about Python, for example. So I don't want to learn AI, or I don't want to learn all kinds of different annoying math." You don't have to work on that level. You don't have to work on that layer. You can work on a different layer because there are so many layers to AI. And you can still give very valuable contributions to the development of new state-of-the-art models while working on and spending your time on a specific separate layer of AI. I like to classify it into, well, first of all, in terms of AI, I like to classify the math portion of it to probability / statistics, linear algebra, and calculus. So, I mean, like, everyone in Zigongxi will take these 3 classes as part of the required courses. I mean, even if you have taken those courses, I'm not going to guarantee that you're going to understand all of the reinforcement learning math. And it's also the case that cryptography, AI, different types of Digital, they all have their own specific math that actually will diverge a little bit from those 3 main fields. But what I will say, probability. I spelled it wrong. Okay. Yeah. What I will say is that if you can understand those 3 maths, then you will have a solid foundation, a very, very solid foundation for understanding the mathematical layer to it. Now, other than the mathematical layer, there's also, of course, the coding layer, and then there's also the architectural layer. That's how I like to separate it in terms of, how to, visualize how it kind of each of the 3 kind of play out. So you can, if you're working on a lower level of AI, so for example, like optimizations of support vector machines, SVMs, you're going to have to understand the mathematical portion of it as well as the architectural portion of it. The coding portion of it, maybe not as much. If you're working on the mainstream machine learning that most companies are interested in these days, then you're going to be working pretty much 100% on the coding portion of it. And if you're working at NVIDIA, for example, you might not do too much of the math or coding. Well, some coding with like CUDA, for example. CUDA is really, really popular. But that's actually coding for the architectural portion of it. You'll be focused most of your time on architectural optimizations of AI. So, and actually this is not the architecture for AI, but it just so happens that I will also introduce the architecture of our club. So this is the previous architecture of our club, and we have the 社长 and the 执行长 right here, the 社长 right here, 指导教授 and 副社长 and 公关部长 and 平面设计师 网站设计师 公关部长 AI 部长 AI 副部长 and so we started out with a bunch of different ideas on how we could structure it. We've kind of simplified that structure. So we have 副社长、社长、指导教授, and now we still have those three departments: 公关部、行政部 and AI 部. And our AI 部 is focused on kind of giving a 研究计划 and so a plan for our research. Right now, we're definitely mostly focused on natural language processing because we work closely with Professor Liao's lab. And AI 部 also helps to plan the 社课 and the and whatever 读书会. Like for example, last semester we were working with 金融科技社, and currently, Tsai Hao-chen, he's in the he's AI 部, and he's the vice president for 金融科技社. And we also have so AI 部's 部长 is Li Zheyu, and 行政部长 is Gong Fu, and 公关部长 is Zhao Yunxiang. And so 行政部they work on just management for the club, on the paperwork, on working with the co-op 活动组, and the property of the club, the 财务, as well as like our 社办. We have our 社办in Artbowl. If you guys want to have access to our 社办, then you can come to me, or you can ask the 行政部长. You can ask one of the staff if you want to come to our 社办. I'll write down the details here a little bit. So yeah, pretty much. If you guys are interested in either joining our 读书会, which is on Coursera, we're currently studying Andrew Ng's machine learning course, and that's for Stanford University, and that is in fact the most popular machine learning course in the world. So, and it has 4.9 out of 5 stars, and the person that created Coursera is Andrew Ng himself. So Andrew Ng's creator also created that machine learning class. Now, it does diverge a little bit from normal machine learning classes in the fact that he teaches with a language called Octave. And Octave is very similar to MATLAB. And so it's not your typical Python machine learning course. So it'll be a little different. Octave and MATLAB are mostly focused on like matrix structures and how to optimize like matrix multiplications and stuff like that. So that kind of plays back into the linear algebra thing. If you want to understand, I will say, if you want to force yourself to understand AI from a mathematical view, I would highly recommend you learn Octave. Studying linear algebra, statistics, and all that, I would highly recommend that you study Octave and MATLAB. If you want to go the easy route, which most people are, we're going to be teaching Python. But I'd also like to see some new faces in our 读书会. And so we're going to be meeting on the weekends, on Sundays, in our 社办. So yeah. And so the 公关部 is focused on planning out our events and doing some publicity, and they've got a big job this semester because we have our Sky 2021 conference, as I was mentioning, we're going to try to aim for 200 people. So we might do some poster design. We're going to do some Facebook ads. We're going to ask some professors to spread the word, and I hope you guys can spread the word too. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And so this is kind of something I've been introducing for the last 3 semesters. This slide in particular is these are all of the clubs that are very tech oriented in the NTU system. So there are more, but these are some ones that I've been to. 区块链研究社，就是那个台科大的那个资讯安全研究社，开源社，就最有名的开源社，还有就是那个资料数据分析策略社应该是这个 Data Analytics Club DAC, and also of course FinTech Club, because 1/3 of FinTech is AI, 1/3 of FinTech is AI, 1/3 of it is blockchain. So FinTech combines a lot of fun stuff, but. So here are some of our sponsors. 台大公司实验室 is again Professor Liao's lab. Past lab is 洪世浩系主任's lab. And then Hu Wencong Andrew, his company, his startup I was mentioning, is called Reliance Bio, or also Reliance Biosciences. Then we have 亚太区块链发展协会, and that's APAC Blockchain Development Association, and that's also headed by ABC Labs, which is Professor Liao. And we also have 2 associates. Actually, one of the associates got just promoted in DBS. He's now a manager. So yeah, if you guys want to meet our staff, if you want to meet our professor, just come and talk to us, and we'll have probably a lunch. So one of the DBS, the DBS manager now is going to be meeting with Professor Liao. And one of our biggest sponsors definitely is Big Data Spark, which is Professor Hu Zhongxin's his group, which has several thousand members. It's a very popular group, and if you guys were here last semester, or even the semester before that, you probably have, I hope you have, joined Big Data Spark. And if you continue to join us for this semester, we will highly encourage you to join Big Data Spark. A lot of good AI news on it. And it's more than just AI news, very good educational resources. And I'm just going to quickly run through some of the meetings that we've done in the past. So this was our first meeting in 2019. So it's been a year and a half. This was our first kind of formal meeting, and it was just a group of 6 people, and it's actually a guy that's now going to Berkeley. He had to delay his entry to Berkeley because of the 疫情关系. So he's 延后入学, but 伯克莱. Anyways, yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. So for example, BSD, Berkeley Software Distribution, which is one of the most famous for Unix operating systems, was created at Berkeley. Jim Lin, Lin Zijun, he was the lecturer for this class, and he also so happens to be one of the best AI programmers that I've ever met in my life. He's able to, he was working on 车牌辨识 in his previous company, and he's worked on all kinds of different stuff. He's had IEEE papers, and he's a really cool guy. And he also participated last semester when we were working with 台大国际事务组 in our filming session with oh hey, by the way, I could also show you guys our filming session. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show the filming session when I show LinkedIn on second thought. Cool. So this is also in late 2019 in December. Professor Liao is right here, and Tim, and some people from our lab as well as people from AI Club. And a lot of people are still in our AI Club. And almost all these people are still. There's Navino, he just graduated from CS 2 months, last semester, after last semester. And Albert's still in the club, and Dushin is also there. Some fun stuff. Then we have another lab/AI club event. This almost looks like some sort of vector graphics city in the background. I don't know how it's done. Anyways, then we have meeting with Fuzhongxin and DBS, DBS right here and here, and Dillstrand and Pitchling, yeah. So we're just meeting, and this is with Rock. Rock is the DBS CTO for Taiwan, and so he's in charge of the entire tech team for DBS Taiwan. So that's a very big deal. And we have Tang Guoyan and Zhao Yunqiang, Professor Liao again. And so, I mean, we have a lot of fun and go to a lot of cool different places. We ate pizza last semester, and then this semester we went to like a international kind of like Irish or German themed, like European kind of a bar, kind of not. But we did have a little bit of beer, but you know, it was a lot of fun. And yeah, so we do a lot of stuff like that. We also, of course, have our academic portion of the club. And after hearing a lot of feedback from club members and from the staff, we decided that we're not just going to go the academic route. We have to do more. We have to do more events like Tahui and games, and it's still going to be AI related games and stuff. But we're going to try to do more games and have some more fun and eat more food together, and just like what most clubs will do. But we also are going to preserve a very academic focus to the club. Okay, so here we have Microsoft Learn. So if you guys can quickly scan this QR code, I'm going to give a brief introduction of the Microsoft Learning platform. Oh, the URL? I think it's Microsoft.com/learner. Either that or learner. Oh yeah, /enus/. Oh wait, but notice the docs.microsoft.com. So yeah, here. All right, everyone's got that scanned. It's kind of a brief introduction video that we made at Microsoft, just a few months old, and I'm going to show it. It's just 2 minutes. If the volume works, I'm going to plug this audio jack in right here. Try it again really quickly. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to play it literally from my laptop at max volume. All right, whatever. I'll just play it from my laptop.
Azure, Kubernetes, Power BI, Xamarin. How does a developer, IT admin, analyst, or solution architect keep up with all the latest technologies? Microsoft Learn can keep you one step ahead. First off, Microsoft Learn offers free, interactive, hands-on training and is always available at no cost to you. With more than 1,000+ courses and growing, find a wide variety of topics, including Azure, artificial intelligence,
cool. So yeah, pretty much you can pick up from that it's composed of learning paths and modules. LinkedIn Learning is structured similarly. And over the spring break, I spent a lot of my time in creating a collection. And Student Ambassador, I haven't started this module yet, but I started this learning path, Get Started with Artificial Intelligence on Azure. And that's a really quick 34 minutes. And it's a nice, I mean, like you spend 34 minutes, you can put it on your resume. It's a good skill to have. And in the future, you can use that for, as your basis for cloud computing. I also spent, I don't know why it's not in this collection really quickly, but I did spend a lot of time in a machine learning module. And then I also spend a lot of time to discuss Azure fundamental concepts. I would highly recommend you guys to check out this platform and find different things that match either your skill set or that you're looking to learn about. For example, cloud computing is extremely important to current artificial intelligence because it's, quite frankly, most people don't have a 3090 NVIDIA graphics card lying in their house, and so it's actually quite useful to work on cloud computing. So yeah, I mean, because a 3090 is also 3,000 American dollars, but if you use, for example, Azure, you can spend like $30, or you could get like a free trial for 30 days. So I mean, it's very much worth it for for people that are either starting out or for professionals, and it gives you a good path to start in training your modules on. Quickly slide. Cool. And now we're going to go jump to LinkedIn Learning. So make sure you guys scan this QR code real quickly. LinkedIn Learning has got all kinds of machine learning classes on it. It also has all kinds of Azure modules on it, and LinkedIn was acquired by Microsoft fairly recently, about 2 years ago, and GitHub was as well. And this, in terms of LinkedIn Learning, you can actually finish a module on LinkedIn Learning, and then it will directly place itself on your LinkedIn profile. All right, so let's just go to linkedin.com, and on the bottom right, it should show me the LinkedIn Learning modules. It usually does. Today's most viewed courses. We have 6 morning habits of high performance, speaking confidently and effectively, and unconscious bias, and it has all kinds of stuff. Oh, and here's the DBS guy. And so I highly recommend you guys open up a LinkedIn account. It's great for something that's much more than a dynamic resume. And it also gives you access to world-class materials for LinkedIn Learning, which can very much help to build both your resume and your LinkedIn account. You could obviously start out with this, how to use LinkedIn Learning. There's also a bunch of fun other paths. I haven't started on this one yet, but I know there's one called Understanding the Impact of Deepfakes. If you guys know what a deepfake is, I've never really talked about it in AI Club before, but actually this thing became very popular about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I'm pretty sure most people have heard of it. Yeah, so Understanding the Impact of Deepfakes is right here, this course. And if you look at this deepfake on the right here, that's Richard Nixon, and it's pretty convincing. what you can do with generative adversarial networks. Basically, in that video, he makes it's a fake video about how Richard Nixon announces that in the Apollo missions, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon and stayed on the moon. So obviously it didn't happen. Obviously they did come back, and so did Buzz Aldrin. But yeah, I mean, this has a very huge implication, and this is specifically what AI ethics is talking about, is the impact of things like deepfakes. This is a perfect class for starting out with your understanding of AI ethics. And so there is the reality where, for example, as long as you have a picture of someone, that's all you need. You can now create a deepfake with one picture and use that to create a fake video of them talking, or the technology has gotten so good that you just need one picture. But if you have more pictures, or if you have a video of them, then you can get higher and higher accuracy, and it's getting more and more convincing. This type of thing used to only be able to be done by CGI, computer generated imagery, and before people call it CGI, they call it video effects or special effects, VFX or SFX, but that could also be sound. But special effects. But really, this type of technology has only come around in the last 5 to 10 years. In terms of its ability to convince you that it is a real person. If you look at, for example, Star Wars, after The Force Awakens, Princess Leia is actually completely special effects. It's completely CGI, but it looks real. It looks pretty much totally real. But I would say that was before the mainstream deepfake came out. They were doing that with traditional CGI methods and with mapping out your face, mapping out different parts of your face. You don't need that anymore. Recently, I've been working on a platform by Google. It's called MediaPipe. And MediaPipe combines a lot of the state-of-the-art technologies for mapping out, for example, your irises or mapping out your face. And so, for example, you might have dots on your cheeks or on your chin, or so you have 15 or 20 different parts of your face that you can map out, and relative to the location of that, you can actually map out someone's entire face and use that to create deepfakes, which is very much, it's a double-edged sword. There are some good aspects to it, like creating cool movies. There's also bad aspects to it. People could use it for bad things, and that's why it's so important that we, as AI developers, study this not only from a coding perspective, but from an ethical perspective. We need to be discussing how to democratize AI. How are we going to allow for everyone to be able to access and develop AI together? Because AI requires everyone. I'm going to say this right now. Whether you're a CS student or not, whether you're an engineering student or not, we need everyone. We need everyone to be developing AI, because you know what? AI within the next 10 years is going to be one of the most influential, if not the most influential, of technologies in our time. And some could argue that it already is. I'd say it's definitely taking shape and going in that direction. And we need people from all backgrounds, not just from computer science backgrounds, to be able to understand and contribute to the discussion and ethical implementation of AI. And so that's what I have to briefly say about AI ethics. There are all kinds of courses, everything from becoming a better listener, or becoming a better speaker, or reading new books, all kinds of machine learning courses, as I said, all kinds of cloud computing courses. And again, it directly links to your LinkedIn account. And yeah, And anyways, so then I have all these in progress LinkedIn courses. I've also finished 2 of them so far. So I mean, I'm still a beginner in terms of LinkedIn learning. I've spent more time on Microsoft Learn. Cool. So basically, I'll give a brief run through of how LinkedIn itself works now too. So this is called the title of your LinkedIn account, and you can put whatever you want there. It doesn't have to be your current position, and you can put in like you put in your name. I actually put my Chinese name with my English name here because I actually technically put this as my first name and I put this as my last name. So because currently I'm going to give this recommendation that they give multiple language option like they do in Facebook. And we also have a NTUAI LinkedIn page if you guys want to check that out. Currently we have like 200 likes. We use that, or technically 200 followers. And we use that for as kind of like a business-oriented aspect of our Facebook page. So, for example, when we invited NVIDIA's CK Lee, we posted on LinkedIn as well. Then we also have a fun 公司实验室 ABC Labs, also called Consensus Labs page, and we have APAC Blockchain Development Association. It's easy to create a page on LinkedIn, and there's something called influencers. So if you click on profile here, you can include everything from languages and organizations to the projects you're working on, papers and stuff like the courses you're taking in NTU or on Microsoft Learn or on LinkedIn Learning. It has a section for recommendations. You can put your experiences here, and you can put your volunteer experience. You can put your education in this section, and it also has organizations. There are all kinds of different functions. I spend a very large amount of time. I spend more time on LinkedIn than I do on any other than all other social media combined. To be fair, because it's just such a good platform for finding work, for spreading information. It works totally different from any other social media site, and that's why we have more than 500 million. We have about 500 million users on LinkedIn, and it offers a different way of finding jobs. Millions upon millions of jobs have been found with it. You can use career search. LinkedIn job search and linkedin.com/jobs, and you can use that for searching for for an AI position or fintech position and stuff like that in finance. Collage is a company that previously contacted us. Collage is very, very popular app. It's based in Taiwan, and so you can search for all kinds of AI jobs or whatever type of job you're looking to specific to your field. You can also use salary parameters. You can use it. If you have LinkedIn Premium, you can use an optimized sort of search. And what I mean by optimized is that it will match your current skill set to whatever job most fits that skill set. So, for example, if I have a background mostly in AI, then it will show me a bunch of different AI engineering jobs. Or like, for example, if that company is looking specifically for reinforcement, it gets into a lot of detail. If it's looking for someone that has a background in reinforcement learning, then it's probably going to find Hu Jian, the guy that he's a complete genius, and I want to learn more from him. He has a cool LinkedIn profile here. So LinkedIn jobs is great, and then just building your presence in terms of you talked about it in 网路. This is the best site for that. I argue. And so that is LinkedIn Learning, and a little bit about Microsoft Learning as well. And we're going to take a short break, and after that I'm going to do a little bit more of an introduction on GitHub, and then after that Yunxiang's going to give an introduction on Azure. Okay, so 5 minutes, or how about let's start back up at 8:05 分. Okay, so shoot.
知道多老师他研究生，但怎么
那应该以后也会继续待在那里。
不含其他学校学生跟其他
只是他自己还会来当一下，虽然他不是很懒，他
可能
来晚，
快要
开始
把学生类似那种。
快。
然后研究生我就看比较小，大概有加我跟我大概6。
我认真听的一直不好听，我觉得他，我觉得是我这个款，那个他是给你。哦。我觉得是幸好我前面。
不要看。为什么？那很久以前。
那你礼拜
可见你很久没学
礼拜一，你礼拜一课前吗？
真的没有吗？
为什么？我觉得我昨天就听到，我很紧张。
哦，不是，
又要跟家人这件事情。
Alright, whatever. So I'll give a brief introduction on kind of GitHub. I did a very quick introduction on GitHub last semester. I believe that class had about 10 people. Yeah, there were only about 10 people last class. So I'm sure that most people that are here now are still maybe getting used to GitHub. So I highly recommend. In fact, it's almost a requirement that if you're working on code in the 21st century, to open up a GitHub account. And so GitHub is organized into things called repositories. A repository is essentially a folder. GitHub has just about every single programming language that you can imagine. It recognizes it and it puts it in a nice format. And so this is the name of the folder. This is my account name. This is the name of the folder. So for example, this will, by default, you'll see right here that it says C. Why does it say C? Because the majority of programs in this repository, which is also the folder, are of the C language. Now, if I maybe go into Java, Gear Java, this is where all of my Java practice programs from high school were. And I wrote a bunch of different Java programs here, and I posted all of them except for this one was 2 years ago, but I posted all of them, all the rest of them 18 days ago. And GitHub is just this really great platform for all coders. If you want to show your future employer, and actually I've heard this from Professor Xu Hongmi 2 years ago. He said in his Jicheng class, 不是Jicheng, 是Jigai class, that this is what employers are going to be using to judge your coding skills. So it's pretty much essential to have a GitHub account and to make sure that you're proactively updating it. I mean, there are of course a lot of good code challenge sites. I mean, like our own major has a Judge Girl, and that one's great as well. But everything you do on Judge Girl, everything you do on those other sites, I would highly recommend that you put onto GitHub. And so I'm just going to start a quick repository here. It's very easy. If anyone wants to name this repository, actually, I'll just randomly name it Henry. Sure. And it's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know. And underscore test. Because usually repositories will oftentimes have underscores. Of course, I could also use one of the organizations and set that to the owner. And almost all the time, you're going to be putting a description to allow for people to understand what this repository is for. GitHub is also extremely secure. If you use a private repository and you're working with a private team, then you need to make sure that you invite every one of those team members as what's called a collaborator into that project. And I'm just going to call this description for example purposes. I'm just going to call it NTUAI test Python. Yeah, why not? Sure. And then we're going to add a Readme file. And Readme files, by the way, are by default in Markdown, which is .md. They can also be in .txt form. And by default, I usually choose MIT license, which is right here. Git ignore, you don't need to, you can ignore this part. For the most part, you don't really need to play around with the other settings. In fact, you don't really need to choose a license if you don't want to. Most of the time, you're not working with a business, but if you are working with a business on it, then choosing the correct license is quite important, in fact. And also, choosing the visibility of your repository is very essential as well. And by default, the thing that's going to be shown right in this box is going to be that Readme file. So even if I change this to readme.txt, it's still going to show this readme.txt file right here. And here's the nice thing about GitHub. Well, this is Markdown, by the way. So when you add an enter in Markdown, you can either add 2 spaces, or you could type /L or something like that. Usually I just use 2 spaces. It's nice and convenient. And then basically you have a new line character right here. Remember, in computer science, new line is a character itself. And then I'm going to put 1, 2, 3 here. And that will show up on a new line. And now I'm going to say, like, this is a test edit. And this is going to inform people of why you made this edit. And so whenever you're editing a program, you need to make sure that other people are able to, that your program has a nice logical way for 可读性, for readability, because a lot of programs are very unreadable and very hard to understand, and it can take very, very, very many days. I'm sure a lot of people in this room can speak from experience that when they're reviewing some repository on GitHub, it might take months before you fully understand what the code is doing. And that is a disaster. You don't want that. You want to be able to explain your code. You want to be able to have nice format. You want to be able to make sure that everything is has a baseline for being understandable enough. And that's one of the nice beauties of Python, is that Python is explainable. It has a format that's nice and easy to follow. It's not like C, which has brackets all over the place oftentimes. You can also add an extended description to what you're editing. That's very rarely used. That's in fact very rarely used. Usually we'll just put about 4 to 5 words or whatever. So like you could put quick edit or major edit, or this is a test edit, or you don't have to use the word edit, by the way. You could say like adding, it usually has a bunch of action words. So like adding hyperscript functionality, whatever hyperscript could be, or it could be removing hyperscript functionality, or fixing bug 57, because bug 57 was filed by user Gearlad 2 months ago, and now we're fixing it. And so that is what we use our comment section, our description setting for, or brief description setting for. And we don't want to create a new branch, and because that would create a whole new fork for this repository. We want to commit this to our main branch, because the main branch is for the main repository. And after you decide to, and it looks good, then you do commit changes. And now we see that this Readme file has been updated, and looks good to go. Now in this issue section, if the community finds issues for your code, and this is also one of the beauties of GitHub. If your community, for example, Python was built very largely by the community. PyTorch is built very, very, very largely by the community. And if the community finds issues with your code, then they can submit it right here. And there are all kinds of functionalities that you can go new pull requests. So maybe someone that isn't part of your collaborators but wants to access a branch of your repository, and you have actions, you have projects, you have wiki, you have all sorts of things to work with. Insights will tell you like the percentages of the code, like for example C versus Python. You're going to be spending almost all of your time in the coding portion. With that being said, so I would highly recommend you guys to upload all of your school projects for code. Everything you've worked on in AI Club, everything you've ever worked on for code, put it into GitHub, unless it's private, which in case in case it's private, you need to make sure that if you are uploading it to GitHub, that you put it as private. You don't want to be uploading like your employer's code and then not make it private. That's confidential information. And yeah, basically be careful about what you upload. Make sure to present your code well. Make sure that it's readable. Make sure that it has enough readability that people can maybe work with it if you want to make it open sourced, which is what GitHub is mostly about, is open source, so making it public. GitHub is at the forefront of the open source community. So, and I mean, we also have Verilog. Verilog I used in computer architecture, C++, and all sorts of very useful functionalities. You can, I think I wrote, my high school account was Broseth, and then I also used my school account, Is211. And there's a nice functionality called star. And like star is kind of like the number of likes that your repository has. So, really quickly, that's searching under my account. I want to search under all of GitHub. Give me minutes. I don't know why it didn't show. Oh well. This is one of his most popular repositories. So you can see that this has 918 stars. This is by my friend Byron Xu, who worked at NVIDIA fairly recently, and he also worked in Hong Shihao's laboratory. And 918 stars, that is an impressive amount of stars to get for your repository. You have something very popular, and in this repository, he has a basic GIF or GIF, depending on which branch you're in. Some people like to say GIF, some people like to say GIF more. But yeah, he has a GIF demo right here, and like you can add what date that you want to do a specific thing, and it adds this nice timeline to your life. So for example, on 周四 3月4号, I joined NTUAI club, and then you put that onto your timeline. And it's just like he has a bunch of fun little applications. And I mean, like for example, Never Blink, this one's really cool too. So it's like a staring contest. So like he uses AI to detect whether you've blinked or not. Blinking is the action of closing your eyes. And yeah, so it randomly pairs you with someone throughout the world, and whoever blinks first loses. And it's just like fun little applications like that. He submitted this work to a React conference, and he won first place, which is excellent. A lot of people thought this was a lot of fun. So, I mean, this is just phenomenal for starting your coding profile. Things like just fun projects like that. I'd highly recommend that you guys get your hands on some projects. Just do something, contribute your idea to that project. And this can be things like GitHub and LinkedIn. This can change all of your job prospects. It can really give you a lot of job prospects, making sure that you have open source code, making sure that you present your work well. Because there are plenty of people that are just very, very, very good at coding. Like the best coder, in my opinion, the best coder in our lab. I mean, he's very humble, but he is an absolute genius. I mean, he like every single coding problem I've ever asked him for help for, he could finish in like 30 minutes. His level of intelligence is just incredible. But yeah, but I mean, maybe he doesn't spend a lot of time in terms of putting his stuff onto GitHub. So I mean, I would very highly encourage you to do that. But yeah, some people will not open source their stuff. I mean, if you're working in, like for example, hacking or what's called white hat hacking, maybe you want to keep your stuff closed source, which does make sense because that can lead to security risks. So you have to keep in mind what audience you're giving this to. If it's for a company, if it's for the open source community. if it's for other hackers, if it's for classmates, if it's a school project, all sorts of considerations that you need to be making when you're creating a project on GitHub. But I highly recommend that you guys start a fun project like this and use that as a basis for starting your AI career. And so that's what I have to say about GitHub. And I'm going to quickly ask everyone to scan this QR code over here. And that is for registration for the club that Gongfu was kind to make for us. And just make sure to fill in your email and stuff. And this class, by the way, is free. We're gonna be having formal registration for the club starting next week. So remember, next Monday is going to be Professor Liao's class, and we're gonna have a Facebook guest speaker. And next Thursday, we're gonna be starting machine learning. And so that is it for my portion of today's class. And so thank you guys.
是设备已经很旧，所以 sorry 该调一下。好，然后我今天要讲的主题呢，基本上就是因为SAT 是 Microsoft 的 Ambassador， 然后他就是他逼我，没有，就是他逼我来讲一些讲那个 Microsoft 推出了 Cloud Computing Platform 这样，所以我大概就讲一下这个 Microsoft Azure 的 Introduction。好，我自己个人的话有经验的大概是这样，然后我自贡系4年级，然后经济这样，然后右边是照片，对，然后我是 AI 特公安部长嘛，然后之前也有在台大表姐 AI 当过讲师，然后可能就做过一些专案，然后社团也有，像我之前是流浪社社团，就是有一些经验啊，对，然后最近遇到一些感情上，我现在真情大告白，好，所以反正我会打鼓，会弹钢琴，会做甜点，所以就大家有女生然后介绍就那个 FB 就是赵宇翔，哦，这不重要，好，总之今天要先讲，就是好，一开始我会稍微讲一下 Azure 的那个介绍跟 background， 然后我会用 Azure create 一个 virtual machine， 然后在上面跑一些 computing 的东西，对，就是给大家稍微就示范给大家看说，如果你想要train model 啊，或者是你想要跑一个程式啊，那个程式你要跑很久，或者甚至你要 serve 一个 web 的话是要一直放着嘛，它不能不见，对不对？它要跑很久的。那基本上大家会推荐说买 cloud。那 cloud 的定义是什么呢 ？cloud 基本上它只要是有 IP 可以连进去，应该就是算 cloud。我自己个人见解是这样的，我不知道有没有比较 formal 的定义。对，然后但是如果你放在实验室的话，可能就是不知道什么老鼠咬断电线，或者是你同学把什么东西踢掉就爆了，所以比较安全做法会是可能就放上 cloud platform 这样，就像 Azure。好，然后最后面的话会有一些比较，然后因为这部分是要推广 Microsoft， 所以我把 Microsoft 的那个部分加出题这样。好，总之就是一开始是 Azure， 然后这个大家可能都念错，所以这边我有准备，对我连美国人都念错。这样大家听得到吗
？Azure。
对，没错，所以总之大家要念对。好，然后第二个是超维基的，反正基本上它就是 cloud computing 的 service 嘛，然后可能有很多，就你可以上面 build 东西啊 ，test 东西，然后 它反正它支援的蛮不错的啦，然后它是从2010年就开始做的，然后它很多 service， 就像是 computer 就是像是 virtual machine， 就你可以跑东西或者你要 train model， 然后一些 identity， 然后跑 mobile 的东西，或者你只是单纯想放资料，或者是你要就跟他讲 AI 你要 train model， 然后 IoT 之类的也都可以，它有资源很多，它大概有这也是查到600多种 service 这样。好，那接下来到那个1年简单的 demo。基本上你就上Google 打 Azure， 然后就经过一些注册程序，然后应该会有免费使用的额度啦。然后主画面就长这样。然后我这边的话，我是因为跟实验室申请那个 academic 的一些 budget 这样，对，所以我不太知道到底实际如果去创的话，它会给你多少额度。反正进来的话就是这样。这边有很多嘛，对不对？这边大家可能看过，可能没看过的东西。这个有叫做 virtual machines， 对，我们就要用它，就 create。现在我不知道是网络广好。好，然后这边简单的东西嘛，这个不管，就是我刚才讲 sponsorship， 然后这个就随便点。那例如说 s， 对，好，那 Azure 有个比较，我可以讲 Azure 的缺点嘛。好，就是 Azure 有个缺点，就是因为我在台湾用，但是它的伺服器没有台湾，所以可能就选个日本或是韩国之类的。然后用 Google 好就有，对，但大家不要去用 Google， 对。然后总之就好，然后这边是选 image 就是你要用什么 OS 嘛。然后因为我们大家其实到现在的话应该比较偏向是 open source， 就像在Microsoft 上，我们也就先选无光图。好，但你要选 Windows 也可以。然后这边 size 的话就是这些，例如说你有几颗 GPU 啊 ，memory 多少。然后大家其实可以注意看 Cloud， 因为它保证你稳定嘛，所以其实是超级贵。大家看到吗？这个是新台币5660块一个月，它只有4核心跟16G 的 memory， 可能你的笔电都比较快，对，但是它超级贵，因为它非常稳定，所以在选的时候要小心。然后这个只是 demo， 我到时候把它删掉，所以我就随便选。好，然后这边的话可能就是说你要用你登录方式要是怎样。这个的话大家不知道有没有听过 SSH public key 的话，就是你可以传你自己的电脑的 identity 上去，然后它就认你的电脑，它就说哦，这台电脑登录了，我就让它登。好，但是因为我们现在不用，我们现在就用 password 就好 ，password 比较不安全嘛，因为谁知道这个 password 就进得去。好，例如说像这边就 NTUAI， 然后这样子 ，N 大写 NTUAI 没差，我到时候把它删掉。然后还有什么东西？然后它要12个对不对？所以我20210304。好，我再来 ，sorry。好，就这样。然后这边的话，这其实都是细节啊，我还是讲一下，只是略过也没关系。反正这基本上就是因为大家如果学过比较深入的 computer 的话，就是你要登录 SSH 的话，你要用一个电脑的 port 这样，然后 default port 是22这个 port， 但是因为大家都知道这是预设的嘛，所以他可能就打你，这比较是自然考量嘛。所以你如果例如说你想把它改成48723之类的，你就改。然后如果你不要改的话，就这样，就 default 就不管。然后就下一步，然后 disk 的话就是什么 SSD 啊，你要选哪一种 ？networking 这也不管，通常是不用管，除非你真的知道自己在干嘛，那就不要去改它。然后这些都不管，对。好，在这边 create， 然后 create 可能要 create 一阵子，所以我们可以回到这边好了。我这就看一个页面嘛，然后这个我等一下会示范。然后这基本上就是一个简单的比较，这也是网络上弄起来的。我们就看这边，你看 Azure 它的优势在哪边？就是第二道好像算是优势嘛。好，然后基本上我自己觉得最大的优势是它跟 Microsoft 的工具还有软体，它是完全一起嘛。就假如你们公司大部分公司应该以前都是用 Microsoft 这种系统，都是用 Windows。如果你公司内部用 Windows 的话， 你借由 Azure 来上云，然后如果你公司可能大一点，他们可能派 consultant 过来帮你弄，那你基本上 code 都不用改，你只要打内那些东西都不用改。对，就是我是觉得它的优势是蛮大的。其他的话可能就还好。然后我自己有觉得一个比较大的问题，就跟 GCP 比起来的话，GCP 就下面的 Google 的，我觉得 Azure 的比较复杂一点，比较没有那么难看懂。就像 Windows 也比较复杂，就它会有一些不太有用的功能，然后或者强迫你做一些奇怪的事情。对，好，最好的是就 refresh 一下，希望是好。好，就这个嘛，点进来，然后我们要怎么连进去呢？因为要靠网络嘛，所以就是 public address， 就你从外面连进去的那个 IP 是什么？就是其他人要怎么认出来是这台机器，它的名字这样。那我们就开一个 terminal。我这边放下那个麦克风，如果太有声，再跟我讲，因为我要双手。就 SSH 嘛，然后刚那个名字，然后 IP， 然后这是你要跟自己的电脑说，我们相信这台机器，就 yes， 然后干什么 NTUAI， 有可能是我打错，我答对了，好，它就登进去了，对，就在这边。如果大家打这个这个是登录的，然后密码是这个东西。如果有带电脑的话，可以试试看，就是你可以登进去，但不要乱搞。加一点东西没关系啦，就是不要，例如说把全部东西删光光，我也不知道会发生什么事情，反正我等下就砍掉了，所以也没关系。对，我大概等个10秒。好，基本上就这样。然后我们就一个示范嘛，是很简单的东西，就是例如说，我们就写个 Python， 然后跑一个无穷回圈之类的，然后里面就拼东西，我用 for 好了。这样，然后对方好好拼才快，然后对，它就会这样印出来。但是呢，假设是你现在跑某个运算哦，假设它里面东西很复杂，所以你可能要跑很久，就要让它摆着。那要怎么弄呢？就有一些工具，像 Tmax 就是它会多开一个 terminal， 然后让你可以跑东西，然后你就可以把它关掉。你看这个跑嘛，你就可以把它关掉。那你把它关掉，你把它关掉，不管。好，然后你现在例如说你做了某些事情了，然后你要回来，你就再连进去。A 就是最近的。好，因为刚才不是印到大概这边而已嘛，对不对？现在已经印到这了，这就代表它在跑。所以基本上，其实这样应该就算是靠 computing。反正就是你如果要跑比较多东西，跑比较久，你就可以这样跑。然后你想要跑一些稳定的服务，也可以跑在上面。总之，大概就这样。好，大家有什么问题吗？就包括我这个的问题，或是刚才那个 second 的问题。
所以那个是一定要钱，是不是？那个是
一定要怎样？
一定要钱，是每个月。
哦，对，因为要不然他们会破产，你就开1000的，然后就你
可以开那个免费。
哦，有试用，可是我不是很确定试用是多少钱。就 Google 的话是$300。
那如果你今天你自己要做一个专案，你会选哪个？你觉得比较适合？如果只是个专案的话，
专案吗？
就可能3个月到半年的那种。
哦，其实我会看哪边有免费的额度。对，因为基本上我刚才开的是 virtual machine 嘛，它当然还有很多功能。 然后像 Virtual Machine 的话，可能就比较是跨平台是一样的，因为你无光图进去是无光图，你没有说什么哪一家无光图比较厉害，没有，就无光图就是无光图。这个，如果你看像这个 Kubernetes 或是一些 Monitor 啊，你需要用到一些比较进阶功能的话，那可能就要自己去体验说哪一个服务商给的东西比较合你的胃口，然后跟你的公司或是你想要的服务比较 match。对，那如果是我的话，因为我都只开 Virtual Machine， 所以基本上对我而言是一样。对，然后为什么会用这个的话，就是因为 Azure 有提供实验室赞助，其他没有。大概是这样。哦，还有问题哦？
那 Google Colab 跑会比较慢吗？
哦 ，Google Colab 基本上它不是同个类型的东西。Colab 的话比较像是，它就是一个 App 的感觉，你在用一个 App。可是 Azure 它是一个 infrastructure， 对，它是一个比较可以做比较多事情啊，就是比较简单的来讲的话，就是 Azure 基本上什么事情可以做，它在 Cloud 上，它就是在上面跑任何服务。那 Colab 你就只是开一个程式，它可以写Python而已。然后例如说你关掉 Colab 是不是就不会继续跑？然后可能限制很多，你也不能让它调说什么有的东西。所以它基本上它应该不算是同个类型的东西。你有问题吗？好，那
对，就是那个 cloud computing 是最 versatile， 但最需要客制化的。然后就是 app 的话，像是 Google Colab 都是比较specific 一点的，是比较可能对一些用户会比较方便，但基本上 cloud computing 也可以做到一样的功能。
就大家可以去玩玩它，反正那个免费的，如果不用也不会扯，对吧？你用了也不会怎么样，对，就去玩玩看。然后记得那个要设定，它也可以是billing可以设定说，例如说多少钱就不要再跟你收费，因为我之前就有一次就忘记弄，然后我就弄 Google， 那是 GCP， 我回到这边 GCP 的好处，对，就是它有一些像 Google Maps 啊，不是你要手打嘛，但是像 Google Cloud 的话，它就会提供一些服务是说，你可以直接去 call 那 Google Maps API， 所以可能可以同时查什么1000个点到1000个点的距离跟时间，然后可能还有一些设定之类的，然后忘记设那个 billing， 然后我就爆扣一波，然后我后来就被收了3万块，然后我现在就给 Google 的那个签账卡的银行的钱不能超过3万块，要不然我就会被收费。对，我也不知道这样是不是违法，反正我现在非常害怕，对，所以大家要小心，就是钱的问题。
然后就是那个 Microsoft 的话，最近有买一个有盖一个新的超级电脑，然后是为了 Azure， 然后它是世界上第5个最强的一台电脑，对，是专业是给Azure 的。
好，如果大家都没问题的话，就这样。你有问题吗？
所以到底Colab跟 GCP 有什么差别？
对啊，它基本上它不是算同一个类型的，它应该已经不能用差别来讲，就你现在感觉是说，这个铅笔盒跟这台桌子有什么差别的感觉？对，就是它不是个同类型的东西。一个是 App， 就是你打开就只能做一件事情，就是写 Python；另外一个是一个 Cloud Computing 的 platform。好，谢谢大家。
是我只是不懂它是什么意思。它就是 enroll 是那个用是那个。哦。太好笑。
All right, cool. So just a quick reminder. So next Monday we'll be having our class with Professor Liao, and that's going to be with Facebook. And the following Monday after that, we're going to be having our class with Google. So again, that's 8th of March and 15th of March. And I'm going to remind everyone that we're starting on 6:30 and 6. So some of the classes are going to be starting at 6, some of them at 6:30, and some of them at 7. So make sure to pay attention to the times on this. We posted this on our club fan page, and starting next week, we're going to allow people to register formally at Jalsafe, and we're also going to be, expanding our basis. We're going to launch some advertisements, and we're going to make sure we have we're going to have a larger plan, and continue to develop Sky 2021 conference. So. Again, looking forward to that very much, and Symposium for Quantum Artificial Intelligence. And so, yeah, thanks guys for coming today.